Welcome to Pure Gold, an honest, no-nonsense take on what it means to live daily with sexual integrity, offering practical tips and suggestions on how to strengthen your character, deepen your transparency, and grow in truth through the power of Jesus Christ.
So no matter if you're in your first year of recovery or your 20th year of recovery, I'm in my 11th year of recovery, there's always something that we can do to get better. There's always ways that we can grow. And I'm kind of skipping ahead of myself to the very end of my notes here, but the moment that we stop the moment we stop learning, we stop growing. The moment we stop learning is the moment we stop growing, because those two things are tied together. We've got to continually be learning about ourselves, about our own hearts, about the ways we can get better, about the pain inside that we're struggling with, about the anger that we might be dealing with, the stress, right? All the internal junk that we all have that we're continually surrendering to Jesus on a daily basis, asking him for his help, asking him for his strength. And so no matter where you're at today, there's always something we can do to get better. And I want you guys, we're just going to talk about a few different ways that you can, that we can all strengthen ourselves. I want you to really consider your progress in the following areas. There's some areas that I want to talk about. And maybe, consider the areas that you're stronger in, but consider the areas maybe you're weaker in, right? And the ways you can be strengthened some more. And so I've got four different areas that I wanted to just share with you guys, specifically for those, again, in recovery related, right? So if you're walking in recovery from an addiction, you're walking in recovery from, pornography addiction, whatever that might look like, sexual addiction. These are four really key areas, four key areas that I really hit on all the time, that I'm in constant, conversation with guys about, that I've always felt like these are like pillars, if you will, right? If you don't have one of these pillars, your house will be weakened, right? And if one pillar is gone, the house is significantly weakened. If more than one of these pillars is gone, then the house is going to collapse. So these are areas that we really need to fortify. These are areas that we need to grow in, that we need to constantly be maintaining and monitoring. So number one is community. Community. Are you in a weekly small group or support group with others who share similar struggles that you have? Are you in that weekly setting, that weekly place, that group of people where you can share your struggles? And what I've always found in my recovery and the guys that I've worked with is that there's just an element of healing in my life, in your life, that can only take place in the context of other people, with being with other people by your side, right? There's healing that takes place only in that setting. It can't happen when you're by yourself. And I'm really fortunate that I get to work with a ministry called Small Groups Online that I just want to real quickly, just kind of plug a little bit. Small Groups Online is an excellent opportunity, for you to find that kind of group. They offer online support groups at virtually any time during the week. And it's a really high quality experience where you're going to be meeting via Zoom, right? Zoom meeting with other men who struggle the same way you do, or who have similar struggles, but who all are coming to the table with an addiction, sexual addiction of some kind. And it's a great format. I want to encourage you to check out what they have to offer. Smallgroupsonline.com. Smallgroupsonline.com is where you find it. I am a small group leader. I'm a support group leader for Small Groups Online, and I've been doing it for 7 years. And it's just a powerful ministry. But community, right? If it's not Small Groups Online, what kind of community do you have? What kind of group are you a part of? Maybe it's something in your community, your local community, right? Maybe it's a place that you actually go to. And I know, where we're at right now, it's a little bit trickier to do that, with the pandemic, with COVID and things like that. But, we have opportunities and ministries like Zoom. We have that technology that we can do that. We can share with each other. So community, I put community as number one because I feel like other than number four, I feel like number one is probably the most important area that we need to be strengthening ourselves in, and that's community. So make sure you're strengthening yourself in that area. Where are you at in terms of community? Number two is accountability. Accountability. And so the question here is, how have you sought out 2 to 3 individuals, right? Two or three people in which you're communicating with on a daily basis. And again, this isn't weekly, this is a daily basis, okay? So if you don't have community, lock that in, right? But the next important tier, a pillar, if you will, is accountability. Having 2 or 3 people in your life that you're communicating with on a daily basis. And as I've really always stated to people, the people in your life that you need to be sharing your struggles with, sharing your story with, these need to be safe, healthy individuals. Let me say that again. Safe, healthy individuals, ones who care about your heart, right? They care about you. They know you, right? These are people who should be really, spiritually mature, right? Have some serious maturity in their life, and they're able to ask you the hard questions. They're not, throwing you softballs, did you do some good things for people this week? Did you read John 3:16? Those are all really important things, but they're going to ask you hard questions. Did you look at porn this week? Right? Did you feel triggered in some way to act out? You know what I mean? To lust or fantasize, right? They're going to ask questions because they care about you. And these don't have to be family members. It's probably better they're not family members, actually. And sometimes this isn't always your spouse. It can be your spouse. One of those people probably should be your spouse, but it doesn't always have to be. These need to be people in your life, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a counselor, whether it's just, somebody who is, again, safe, healthy, spiritually mature, who loves you, who cares about you. Good accountability in your life. 2 or 3 people if you can. Get good accountability in your life. So community, accountability. The next one is access. And when I say access, I mean what kind of access to the internet and social media do you have? What does your access to the internet and social media look like in your life? Is the door wide open? Where there's no protections, there's no guards, there's no safeguards? Is it wide open, or do you have specific software set up on your devices to guard you from sexually explicit content? Things that would trigger you to act out, right? Things you're scrolling, and you see, and just that cause those triggers. Maybe it's an old relationship. Maybe it's something on YouTube. Maybe it's just somebody who's dressed a certain way. But we know, right? There's so many things that come through social media and come through the internet. But the reality, the truth is that there's really a lot of great solutions out there that can help you in this area, that can help you, and you can guard your devices with, whether it be your phone or your tablet or your computer, any device you have. There's software out there, and I just want to sort of plug a software called Ever Accountable. And please, and we'll have links to all these things, to small groups online and Ever Accountable in our podcast notes, in our show notes, for you guys to go here. But Ever Accountable is a fantastic software to start with, and they offer different kinds of plans and solutions available for you to check out. Lots of great. There's Covenant Eyes, another great software out there. Ever Accountable. So many solutions out there for content blockers, for accountability software, but you've got to have your access covered. You've got to have your access, guarded, if you will, and protected. We can't expect to live lives that are whole and clean with the door wide open, with no safeguards. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you check your access, right? So you've got to have community, right? We're strengthening our community, we're strengthening our accountability, we're strengthening our access, and we're strengthening our last area, which is the most important area, which is our heart. Our heart. This might be last on the list, but this is certainly the greatest, I believe, as it relates to the work that work that can be done on our own, right? We can always, no matter whether we're in a group of people, we're in the context of 2 or 3 people, or if we're meeting with someone, one person, or if we're in a room full of people, or if we're by ourselves, we're alone. We can always work on our heart. We can always work on our heart. Are you actively taking care of your heart by giving it healthy outlets to process painful emotions and experiences? Let me just ask that question one more time. Are you actively taking care of your heart by giving it healthy outlets to process painful emotions and experiences, right? And that could be, exercising, right? It could be taking a run, a walk. It could be talking to somebody on the phone, just meeting with somebody for coffee, doing something healthy, painting, writing, journaling. There's all kinds of healthy things we can be doing to process stuff that's going on inside. Always something, worship, having worship, singing, praying, asking God, talking with Jesus. Have you discovered what specific triggers you have and what causes you to act out? This is a huge area. Do you know why you do what you do? That's a big question. What specific triggers do you have? We talk a lot in our groups about halts, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stress, or blast, right? Bored, lonely, angry, stressed, tired. Those emotions, those are triggers. When you find yourselves in those areas, are you acting out? Are you triggered to act out in some way? So keeping the pulse on your heart should always be a priority. It should always be really, really important for you to be maintaining. And then again, these 4 pillars have to be monitored. These 4 pillars have to be in place. I'm not saying they have to be perfect, but we have to constantly be working on these areas of our lives and making sure that we're growing in community, accountability, access, and the area of our heart. So I shared this with you guys earlier, but here's the bottom line. Again, I want to repeat this because it's so important. I think if you were to take one thing from this entire podcast that would be helpful, this is the gold right here. Once you stop learning, you stop growing. Once we stop learning, we stop growing. I can remember the kind of person I was 11 years ago in the thrust of my addiction. In the depths and the secrecy and the lies and the darkness of my addiction. And I don't know about you in your life, but I never want to go back to being that kind of man again. I don't ever want to go back to being him again. I've worked too hard in my life in the last 11 years in my recovery journey. I've grown too much. I've traveled too far. And I just don't want to go back to being that kind of man. And so I really believe that 2021 has the potential to be our greatest year ever. I really, really believe that. I want to not just say that in my words. I want to actually live that out in all areas of my life, but especially in my recovery journey. But I believe it really first requires vision. It requires a vision of where we want to be at the end of it, at the end of this year, in order to, I think, walk out the way we want to walk out this year and the way we want to. We got to have a plan, right? We've got to have a vision of where we want to go. And so it requires some work on the front end. It requires lots of work in the middle, but it definitely requires some work at the front end. Believe me, you'll have all year to work on your heart. You'll have all year to work on your access and your accountability and your community. You'll make progress, you'll make mistakes, you'll fall. There'll be times that you struggle, but there'll be times that you hopefully every single time that you get right back up and you keep going. I'm so grateful for the grace that awaits us in 2021. I believe there's lots of grace ahead of us. I believe there's lots of mercy ahead of us. I believe God is He knows what's going to happen. I shared this in the video a couple days ago, but the same God who holds 2021 is the one who held 2020. Some of us really need to hear that God is present. He's present. Jesus, the Bible says that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And so he knows where we're going. He knows what's ahead of us. And he has lots and lots of grace available for you. He has lots of grace available for you and mercy available for you this year. And so, as I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for authentic community to share your struggles with, then I would really encourage you to go on to Small Groups Online. Check out smallgroupsonline.com. They are just an awesome ministry, helping guys, to grow in sexual recovery and sexual purity for their lives by meeting together, by forming meetings and online support groups, and also Ever Accountable. Make sure you check that out. If you don't have any software for your devices, I want to encourage you to go over to Ever Accountable first and download that software, give that a try, and hopefully that works really great for you. I am so thankful for your support for Purity for Life and the Pure Gold podcast. We are so grateful for the people who listen and have grown from our ministry. This is a joy for me, as it has been since, my goodness, maybe 2011, 2012, since we started the podcast. It has been such a joy for me to be able to get to do this and to use technology, whether it's video, audio, social media, to encourage people in their lives. And I'm excited for what is ahead of us in 2021. So I want to encourage you to check out our website, pflhome.com. It's pflhome.com. You can find all of the podcasts back to episode 1. You can go onto the archive and check out some really great audio content. There's also our YouTube channel you can check out for lots of great video content we've recorded and have on there. There's lots of great articles and links, resources that you can go through the website and read through to help you in your journey for sexual integrity. There's ways that you can contact us. You can contact my wife and I if you need some extra support. There's a section on there where you can contact if you're the wife of someone or the spouse of someone who struggles. You can contact me or contact my wife for some specific help and coaching on there. Or you can just reach out to both of us or reach out to me. And of course, follow us all on social media. We're all over. We're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all over there. But anyway, just lots of really good stuff there on the website. PFL Home, that's Purity for Life, pflhome.com is the website. So really looking forward to the journey ahead of us in 2021. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the Pure Gold podcast, and we'll see you again next week. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Pure Gold, our weekly podcast from Purity for Life. Don't forget to visit our website for additional content, including our entire podcast archive, articles, links, and videos to help encourage you on your journey for sexual purity. All this and more can be found at pflhome.com.